거짓말 되죠.
It was said that emptiness, when it appears to ignorance, is held to be true, existing the way it appears by that ignorance. Does emptiness appear to ignorance? Did we not say that ignorance grasping to true existence and the wisdom realizing emptiness do not coexist in the same consciousness? Chuni marikpala, Tenzin marikpa. Chuni Tony, Tenzin marikpala, Tenzin marikpa chuni la tempa zingirwas, tempa zingires.
Chuni tempa zingires.
Tini chuni Tony marikpala nangirepes, nangire. Tenzin marikpa tang Tony tope shirap sheba chikla yomarepes sheba chik.
Tony karese.
The question was, it said that emptiness, when it appears to ignorance, is held to be true, existing the way it appears by that ignorance.
Tony tempa zimbitinzi yomares, desigore.
Tony tempa
chuni tempa zimbitinzi yomares. Ne. Ani chuni maripala nangirves na. Tempa zimbitinzi tela chuni nangirves.
Chuni nangirves. So the first, this is in reference to reality or emptiness as it appears, or as it's held to be real by the ignorance which grasps that things as being real. And then is it said then that, does that appear to that ignorance? It does appear to that ignorance. The Denzindang Tony Tobe Sherap Sheba Chik
Sheba Chik Mare Kagare. Muba Chila Mine and it's in Dan Kagaro.
Yes. Yeah. Right. But no. Did we not say that ignorance grasping to true existence and the wisdom realizing emptiness do not coexist in the same consciousness?
That consciously.
Dinzi Marik Patang Tony Tobe Sherap ni Lochikli Yomar Yorapes. No, they impossible. No, it's absolutely impossible that the ignorance grasping to things as real and the wisdom realizing emptiness could exist as a single cognition, could exist as a single cognition because they are contrary, they're the opposites of each other.
Tony Demet Tobi Lotang Tony Demet Denzin you Mupa Tony Che.
So the way this works then is that the observed object of both the ignorance which is grasping at emptiness as being real and the wisdom which realizes emptiness, they have the same observed object, but the way they apprehend that object is different. Mikpachik. But the way they apprehend that object is contrary, the opposite. Did that answer the question? Yeah. Right. I'm sorry. Then Tony Maripala Nangimares Karesana di Tony Nasona Deni Sherap res Sherap.
Tony Nambala Shera Yungo Mare, Tony Tobal Shera Yungo.
So the appearance of emptiness does not entail that something is wisdom. It's that cognition is wisdom. That cognition which is understanding emptiness is wisdom.
Oh yeah. That Tajindi Dana Shidi Kuzo Dembi Tendu Le Kubani Tendaba Yoba Le Kubalanga what do so Statajin Yage Pumbatawu Zumba Tommy Loyu Zumba Lui Tendu Nevalla Shidi Demba Zibi Denzing Xianyu Rishiji and you see you want Dawania Gugres. The girl the carriers and Demba repair Magubala Zumba Mutuba Hayes.
So we went over this last part of the text. It says that, therefore, for a base, a thing, to be established by a cognition as a conventional truth, it definitely depends upon that cognition having negated that it exists ultimately, that it's ultimately existent. And that's in reference to the previous line where it says that in order to ascertain with certainty that a object of knowledge such as pots and so forth are deceptive, false and deceptive, then that base or that object has to be the conceived object which grasps it as being real, that is, it existing as being real, has to have been, one has to have obtained already the view of which eradicates that conceived object through reasoning, some kind of reasoning awareness.
Oh yeah, that taking Kasore, Zumba Truala. Shidi Zumba Truala, Demba Ribe Kikowa, Junzan Tichirs, Tena, Junzan Tena, Da Pumbala Sovi, Shidi Gunzub Jitumbi Tendu, Len Drubani, Ting and to Tendan Yoba, Law Kipaling, what you grace, when the Gunzo Demba Net Zumba Truku Grace, what is Zumba Trumna Tikun, the Demba Kiku Grace.
So it says then, without having through reasoning rejected that or negated that thing as being real, there's no way to establish it through valid cognition as being false, and then therefore that that base, the pot or so forth, in order to establish that as having as being an object which is a conventional truth. One has to have that definitely depends upon having have a cognition which has negated that thing as being ultimately existent.
인장 품발레 주바나 군도 담발레 주고 말해.
So it says then, so pots and blankets and so forth, everyday objects, which are, although they are phenomenal truths, those, in order to establish those, for a cognition to establish those, it's not necessary for that cognition to establish them as phenomenal truths.
다 대목의 주장 가르래서나 본바다 남부서 랑신지 마신 마줍신도 아니 랑신지 추안 나와기 주마다부레스 주마다부 예리 레데 아니 본바다 남부 추발라 라신지 메신도 라신지 추안나요 주마다고 추고고 말아봐 때때 빼라고고라 좀 먹어봤시노.
So it says the reason given for that, or the example that is given for that, is that pots, blankets, and so forth, everyday objects, although they don't exist by means of, they're devoid of existing by means of their own essence. They appear to exist by means of their own essence, and thus they are just like magical illusions. So the cognition which establishes them like that, which establishes them, the cognition which establishes those things as pots and blankets and so forth, does not necessarily have to establish them as being objects which are like illusions.
준센티 체리 다 우미타와 줄람 돈이 또 베타 맹게 우미타와 메비 아니 소소티위 시용을 때데 아니 품바다나 무슨 군조다 바래 파발라 때데 전단된 바이 마와데 다르그 말에
Therefore, for someone to say that based on the perspective of ordinary beings, or the awareness of ordinary beings who don't have the view of Madhyamaka, the middle way, then pots, blankets, and such are phenomenal truths. Whereas from the perspective of Aryas, they are ultimate truths. That sort of someone who presents that sort of position is incorrect.
Oh, 이 미르바 가르에서나 우미 따와메 소소기위 시용을 때 본남 군조 담바이나 따와메 소소기위 되게 군조 담바 또나 돈이 또고 있게 알아와.
So the reason for this is as explained in the commentary on the introduction to the Middle Way, that for these ordinary persons who haven't yet gotten the view of the Middle Way, to be able to know that things are conventional truths, phenomenal truths, they would have necessarily had to have already achieved the view of the Middle Way, come back.
그래서
please.
또 대인바데 가르에서나 된 주바란데 가수 대라 소소께워 남지 된다바 강인바데 소소께워 그모 된다바 된바 강인바데 파바나와다 제위 아니 가서래 주지 남지 군조 잠이라 군조 잠래 소소께워 그모 된바 강인바 된다바 강인바데 파바나와다 제위 주지 남지니 군조 잠이라 티 랑신 동바니 강인바 되니 대남지 된담바오 so 어디 대남지 된담바오 다시 숨바 텔레 도트 마와레 소소기고 그나가라 아니 군저 담바인 아니 파바라들 된담바 마와세 다 도트 마와레.
So that sort of assertion in the position that's given above is actually the opposite of what's true. They're saying the opposite of what has been taught in the commentary on the introduction to the Middle Way, and where it says that that which is the ultimate for ordinary beings is merely phenomenal for Aryas who have objects. Nangwadan chebi chuyuchin. Nangwadan chebi chuyuchin.
Papa nangwadan chebi chuyuchin Yudi dopa. Yudi lodi chuyusena lodi dopa la sera. Lodi yura kokuri.
So these Aryas who have objects appearing to them, who are seeing these objects, for them they're merely phenomenal, and their nature, the nature of those things is emptiness. That emptiness is for those Aryas is the ultimate.
다 뒤워라 소소죠 남지 분발라서와 댐바진라 대니 댐바진바진라 분발라서와 댐바진바 대니 아니 분발라서와 퇴담바진바야 임배 소소죠 남就太大的先我太大对的pun上能团大把出啊引起工作于团民了是吧他归团大把出啊怎么样子先我落地我点把的他就工作那工作嘛的工作于团民了
So, and the commentary continues saying that that which is held to be real, pots and such, held to be real by ordinary beings, is grasped at as being ultimately existent, and therefore, with regard to their perspective, from the perspective of that kind of cognition. These pots and so forth are established as being ultimately established, but that is not the meaning of something being phenomenal.
So就太大给团大把处理，提我团大把处理西，碰把那说话，怕被拒绝，那我就嘛大把团是吧？那对那是顶住团那讲，两把马主吧怕吧，怕被拒绝，那我就嘛大把是顶住团那讲，顶住两把马主吧是吧？那么对那工作怎么的？
So these bases which are established as being ultimately existent from the perspective of ordinary beings, these things, when from the point of view of the way that these are seen or viewed within the continuum of Aryas, who that are appearing to be like magical illusions. Here, this is saying that these objects appear, although they appear as if they were real, they're not held to be real in the way that they appear. And so, from that perspective, then these things are merely phenomenal.
Pumbala sowa pabe juji nawa jumata wo sibi ani shewa tola tene demba shatu mebe unzo zamre.
So since from the perspective of that kind of awareness, that is the awareness of an Arya who is for whom ordinary kinds of objects are appearing, we can't posit that those things, we can't say that those things are established as being real. So that's why they're said to be merely phenomenal.
대단하 분소 대다기 랑싱 타두데 된담된발 송배 분소 군접당 대다기 랑싱 아니 랑싱 타두데 다 랑싱 타두데 파베 된다고 시 천년 줘봐 차이 분소 군접 분소 대다기 랑싱 데 아니 랑싱 타두데 된담래 천년 줘봐 차이.
So even though that's the case, the nature of those things, that is the nature of pots and blankets and such, since that's said to be ultimate truth, then the pots and so forth, which are phenomenal, and are phenomenal, and their nature is the ultimate for Aryas. Is the ultimate for Aryas. And so we have to distinguish them, those two, in that way, and we have to express them by distinguishing them in that way.
내루 타도 양타바 내루 통위 리시기 분소 대다가 내루 통위 리시기 많이 버려 봄소 대다 그 내루 톰이 리시디 그 녀된라 전담 대바 연구로와 원자 티 봄소 대다 그 양타비 된서나 내루 톰이 리시기 봄소 많이 바래.
So we have to express that by making that kind of differentiation between the two truths in that way. But it's not the case. We can't say that pots and such are the ultimate for Aryas, are ultimate for Aryas. And the reasons given for that is that the awareness, which investigates the ultimate nature of things, sees an object which is real, and that kind of awareness, which is investigating the real nature of things, does not find or does not ascertain pots and so forth.
많이 비치당 양답이 된 내루 타두라체 와 양답이 된 타두제비 아니 양답이 된 통위세가 타두제비 아르시지 아니 로 타두 통위 하나 타두 제밤 양답이 된 통위세 내루 타두 통위 리시지 녀된데 되라 타두제지가 참만 그 참미해 봐스 거래 타두제지가 참미해 봐대 전단집에 참이
So therefore, some kind of reasoning consciousness or reasoning awareness which sees a real object, an actual object, that which is found by that, and here the reasoning consciousness or reasoning awareness is one which is investigating, is examining the final nature of things. So it's a valid cognition which has investigated the final nature of things. And that's sort of awareness, that which is found by that sort of awareness is the definition of ultimate truth.
Oh yeah, that digi kunzo demba de she sanim. That kunzo dembi yewa tela. Sheja jumba tomi, sheja jumba lui ten tomi, shewa la yang, sa, right? Lui che tomi, shewa la yang. Raru la so we charge chuji mala bi ambo shewa tam. Charge chuji la bi ambo jenjen ki shewa ni yin la. Ta de la kunzo demba de la du sha gyo are. Jiden bi xianwo la de de yang ta ba dang, jiden xianwo la de de yang da dang, jiden xianwo la de de lo ba sa ni.
So that leads us into the third portion of this discussion of what is the phenomenal or phenomenal truth. And so we have to make a subdivision of that which is phenomenal. In general, that which is phenomenal is differentiated from the perspective of worldly awareness or worldly knowledge, and within. From the perspective of worldly knowledge, then we distinguish between things which are actual and things which are erroneous.
Rarula soba ke charge chuji malapa, charge wanshe de charge chuji malabi, ani malabi ambo savi shewa jikdang. Right? Then, wanshe de la charge chuji lebi ambo jenjenji shewa ni yuare, ni la. Right? Teni ngamala dene lobi shewa sha. Shewa shago segala. Jiden di ambo loba de. Ani jiden bi shewa la de de, jiden shewa la de ne loba shabare. Rwa chaji chuji mala bi shewa tela de ne, ani loba shabare.
So then the text here that says objects of knowledge which have false and which are false and deceptive, regarding awarenesses which are seeing the objects of that sort, which are false and deceptive. These are subdivided into two types. We'd say an awareness of someone whose organs are intact and are not affected by some kind of incidental condition that, such as an eye disease, which produces floaters. Floaters is the name of this eye disease, or the symptom of this eye disease. And so a consciousness which is a consciousness of someone that is whose organs are intact and are not affected by these incidental sources of error, incidental defects, such as this eye disease, which produces floaters. That's one type. And then the consciousness or awareness of someone whose organs, his cognitive organs, are have some kind of defect by being influenced by some kind of incidental condition that some kind of temporary source of error.
Oh yeah, 대다양 엄마 주변 가서 통원 준바 한谢谢 준바. 루루 통통하기谢와 대라양 넘버 2요래. 넘버 2 되대. 차지 추지 말레비 안보 사위谢와 지당. 차지 추지 레비 안보 전된谢와 지그 인요래.
So this is explained. So it is from the perspective of that former type of awareness, someone whose organs have been affected by a temporary source of error, such as the eye disease and so forth. It's based upon that we establish something as an erroneous awareness. An awareness which is erroneous. And this is explained also in the introduction to the Middle Way, where it says that seeing falsities or things that are false in nature is accepted as having. There are two types of this. The type of seeing which occurs for someone whose organs are intact, and the type of seeing which occurs for someone whose organs are defective.
今天往前那么去写完呢，安不来对，来就写对老板对，是干了，差距出去来比，安尼简单点呗，安尼开始安比写完的呢。 差距出去买来比个，安比写完了对的，安尼老板的。
So therefore, and it says in the next line of this verse that the awareness of those whose organs are defective, whose organs have some kind of defects, is established as being erroneous. Based upon the awareness of those whose organs are in a good condition. So here it's saying that in the case of we're able to establish the awareness of persons whose organs are in a defective state as being erroneous. Based upon the way in which objects are perceived by persons whose organs are not defective.
Oh yeah, 这现在他萝卜菜啦，几点先我了对的，有些萝卜汤，有些了羊肉泥，有些羊大把的，有些萝卜泥。几点先我了对的，有的那样，安尼有羊大把汤。 老板，你想 是吧？
So,
哎，
then it's based upon from the perspective of worldly knowledge or worldly awareness that we're able to distinguish between subjects, perceiving subjects as being either erroneous or in correct, and the same thing applies to objects, the objects of those perceiving subjects.
第一张手准备没写的，一天想我来对对养他吧。安尼，卡说的没弄那个切心个数年准备，数年那我们这些杂巴那有往些，今天想我来对对老爸。
Wang Shi.
往些。
Wang Shi. So it says here then that just as that it says that perceiving subjects are also subdivided into two types: those which are erroneous and those which are not erroneous. And so similar to that, or just like that, objects are also divided into the two categories of actual objects and erroneous types of objects. So, for example, here in the case of a visible form or something, which actually is actual, that as is perceived by someone whose organs are not defective, and then a face in a mirror, which is a reflected image, is established as being erroneous because of it's established as being erroneous.
现在手准备没写的，差距出去马来比写完钱，是吧？没弄那个切心的首先真哪有往写当，俺这这些杂巴哪有往写听着差距出去来比写完钱。
Well, so therefore, we would say that this the object, I'm sorry, someone whose sense organs are not defective, and the way they perceive a visible form, that visible form is an actual form. The way in which someone who's affected by some kind of temporary source of error, in this case the mirror, the way they perceive that face in the mirror, which is in fact a reflected image, the way they perceive that object is erroneous, and thus the object is categorized as being erroneous.
他有些养到你轻松啊，他差距出去那把没比孙子往些拉少别个，俺那往些拉出别，俺那写我出不提个有，俺那时候这真要做人家缺了少太大。 有养大吧，今天想了这有养大吧。
So then it says here that the objects which are apprehended by awarenesses of the six faculties, which are not damaged in any way by temporary or incidental causes of error, causes of mistaken cognition. Those objects are categorized as being actual objects.
哦，这些都差距出去来比写吧，他看说的，切心说呢，切心那我差价占那我拉说我给，俺那有出不的，俺那今天想完了这有了吧。
So then, similarly, and likewise, the objects which are apprehended by persons whose whose six organs are damaged or damaged by some kind of temporary source of error. Here, for example, the objects that are apprehended by those. That kind of awareness are erroneous. So here examples of this would be like a face that's appearing in the mirror. or an echo, which is coming out of a cave, and other sorts of things like that.
다 되게 된다. 엄마 주발라 세대 간에 대다량 주발래. 네바 메베 안보 총남지 송와 칸시 직된 치도데. 봐. 네바 메베 안보 타주지 말레비 네바 메비 안보 총남지 안에 송와 칸시 직된 치도데 직된 니래. 대인 하마인. 봐. 직된 니라 로바 남바샤세. 차지 투지 네바 메베 안보 총남지 안에 소위 된 수당 지르베나 순진 와셰기 수도와체 순진 왕지기 수도장 순진 왕셰라 수데 나와다도 마주바데 돈이 마도비 지대랑가 와기 또 믿니바 하고서 지대바 수데 가서 네바 메바 안보촌네 수와 칸시 직된 치도데 세가나 수자 들어와 치다로라서 주보데 직된베 또와체 수데 된다 수데 순정 왕셰라 나와다는 마주바데 다 돈이 마도베 직대바랑가 왔나지 또바 미디마 인상 수데 아니 가서를 직된 시험을 되지 담바이래
So it says there then about this as well in the introduction to the Middle Way that the things which are apprehended by those whose organs are not damaged, here being damaged refers to affected by some kind of incidental source of error. Those are conceived by the world, within the world, and from the perspective of the world itself, they're real, and the remainder are even from the perspective of the world presented as being erroneous. What this is showing is that someone whose organs are intact and is not affected by some kind of some kind of damage due to some incidental source of error that's affecting the organ or the object. For example, someone who a visual awareness, which is apprehending a form. That visual awareness apprehends the form, and insofar as it apprehends it as a form, it is a correct awareness. But it also grasps at the form as being real, and in that respect, it's mistaken with respect to the object that's appearing to it. So in order to understand the fact that object is not real, one must previously have understood emptiness. Without understanding emptiness, one cannot understand how that object it doesn't exist as it appears to that awareness. But from the perspective, from the simple perspective of worldly knowledge, that object, the form or whatever that's appearing to a visual awareness is categorized as being an actual object.
Pena sunyan dabu ani toni madobi jigden ranga wagi nawada majuba to nyuba insa sunye cheshindu naya sunye cheshindu majuba chaja dar naya chaja dar manama dar majuba zashe zaba najan zashe dato jiba cheche o majuba de toni madobi jigden ranga wagi to nyuba insa.
So all of these kinds of objects, like a face that's appearing in a mirror, the echo, which is held to be an actual voice. These sorts of objects which are apprehended, those just even from the perspective of worldly knowledge can be established as being unreal. They can be seen to that they don't exist the way they appear. Ordinary, just everyday sort of worldly awareness is able to ascertain the fact that they're not real. What did I miss? There's the end of that. Yeah. No. 직든 생활을 투대 Yeah. So just ordinary worldly awareness is able to establish that those things are erroneous. They don't exist as they appear.
안보라는 비견 차지 추지 안보 견된당 안보 견매 세대 다데마 손들가라 텔라 안보라는 비견 나나 여바네 아니 라브리탕 믹스라 소와당 아니 타두라 소와라 소와오 세와 다 안보라는 비견 치나 여바데 멜론당 다중에서 차부라 소와네 안다저바당 아니 세균이 맥주 쓴 거래. 아니 세가 그 뒤에 나 이러와 뒤라 시체가 가나 세가 세가나다. 세균이 되게 님이에서 야라 치마 짜고 포 짜위 유단야와 좋아라 소와데 쓰네 맥주 출나야 그. 이러와 어서 선조 안보라네 비긴 친아야 받지. 이러와 여바데 대단히 안보라네 비견 나나 여바다 여바 주바데 대단히 안보라네 비견 나나 여바타 매발 아니 수냐다 찾아 무지 추점발라서 주저오세 난기견 그 매나양 치견기 아니 최신수냐 최신도 나야 라 아니 찾아다 나야
So then this is explained as follows, that there are different kinds of defects which damage the organs. There are those which exist internally, such as the eye disease, which produces floaters within one's vision, the jaundice and so forth, eating datura, etc. Those are inner conditions which give rise to perception of erroneous types of perception. And then there are also external factors which faults, defects which harm the organs. External things like, for example, a mirror, a cave, etc. From those reflected images appear. A sound like a voice can arise. And then things like in the summer, the sun's rays, when they appear on sand, they can on white sand, they can produce reflections like a thing of like water, or like one's country or one's friends, etc. Those are regarding those, even without having these So these kinds of conditions, even if you're these external conditions, even if your organs are not, your perceptual organs are not, don't have any defects of being harmed due to internal causes, these things can function as the causes for us apprehending the things, the reflections, the echo, the mirage, and so forth, as an actual face, or as an actual voice, or as actual water, etc. They can function as causes for that.
Oh yeah. Tishindu mi chungan la sovi, jawi ngada man la sova shewa chao segala, ani gyumi ngada ze ngada ji leba gi, ani o kasore leba la tena, ani gyumi tishin talandu nala, rwa man la sova shewa chao, man gyumi ngada ze man la sova.
Similar, and in addition to that, we can say that there are other external conditions, such as the mantras, the spells, and their herbal substances, and those sorts of things which are applied to things, which are then which then produce magical illusions. So an illusionist can use all of those sorts of things to produce a magical illusion. So then, in addition to those internal conditions which were mentioned above as giving rise to affecting one's perceptual organs, then there's also damage which can occur to one's mental faculties or mental organ. And it's the ones which were listed above under the internal conditions, as well as sort of bad philosophy or perverse types of philosophical views, and then specious sorts of reasoning, and sleep also can affect and harm one's mental faculty.
통마메바나 시위 다도 쯤이 가사가다다 추이 다도 쯤바 니지 마르발라 소베 레비 네바니 들 암볼라 네베 주샹고 마레 가르레사나 디 셰바기 암본 께메 암본 네바메바 암보 순수지미 미셸라 소바 대다양 차지 추지 말려바레 마도 아니 나도 쯤바 니지 마리 바자기 레바레 다주 전반이 말이 파자를 내봐 인상 다주 전반이 말이 파자기 내봐데 디 암볼라 내봐 줄에 샤그 말에 순과래
암볼라 내베규 샤기 말에
암볼 내베주 테라.
So and then the text continues by saying thus here the two types, the ignorance, which is the two types of grasping at a self, which has been active within us beginninglessly, which has been operating within us beginninglessly. The sort of damage which arises by being affected by that is not presented here as a cause of damage to the organs. What this is saying is that what has been listed above are incidental or temporary things, conditions which give rise to some kind of damage or defect within the perceptual organs, and those are not. But here, the two types of ignorance, and including the propensities of ignorance. Those things do, and the two types of ignorance, as well as their propensities, do affect the organs such that they're erroneous, but these are not being what is discussed in this context.
Oh yeah, 말이 바자기 내바데 딜 안보라 내바 샤가 말에서 워낙 가르 샤바레서나 나르 샤바기 오다 왕실라 내비주 야게 차지 주지 샤인바 공도 샤바기 나르 샤바다지 차지 안보라 내비 추지나 수모시 다야게 수년자 차자다 다야 공도 샤바다 수모세
So here in this context, we're as previously explained, what is being identified as the sources of error within the organs, the sources of error that damage the organs is we're talking about these incidental things or temporary sources of error that damage the organs.
아니니 되어라 대다위 never maybe 차지 추지 never maybe 시와 추 왕시 추기 성이 되요라 군접탕 차지 추 never maybe 차지 추지 never 다 제외 아무 추기 성이 요라 아니 가서래 로바 줘야 돼 대란 로바 도비 된라 양다다 로바 줘봐니 이상 가서 주위에는 군조비 전당 대련도비 전라 양다다 로바 줘봐니 지대 시험을 때들이 지대 비시험을 때들이 양다다 로바 줘고를 마도 저와 양다다 로바 줘고 말에 스타진은 할 없어요 봐 지대 비시험을 지대 수저 차지 주지 내가 maybe 유튜브에 지대 시험을 때지 양다 인자 양다 마이
So what has been discussed up above is that talking about how objects are categorized as being actual or being erroneous, and how awareness is being categorized as being correct or actual and erroneous from the perspective of worldly awareness. So this is talking about that the criterion for distinguishing those two is whether or not the awareness is affected by a temporary cause of error which is damaging it.
안보남지 지달 소유 텐도 여발라 순정왕시기 아니 수 지달 소유 텐도 여발라 지den지 참여 내봐 매봐 지den비 시에 내봐 매봐 melona 그 왕시기 아니 소녀 최신도 전부 송화되라 왕시기 내봐 여봐 와 내봐 여봐 인상 대다 지다 나와다 텐도 여발라 지대비시 내밤에바다 예비실 쓰리가나 수지비 메시지기 수치달 송화달라 내밤에 송화다지 소명에 자신기 소냐 자신도 준비 메시지기 아니 자신이 소냐 자신 좀발라 내봐요 와 자신 소냐 자신 말아와 어때래.
So the text in here says that as far as the phenomenal objects which are apprehended by those 6 types of awareness which are not damaged, those kinds of objects and objects which are the opposite of those are positing them as being actual and erroneous is done from the perspective only from the perspective of worldly awareness, and so the reason for that is that those in order to 대닥지들 나와 targi dundu yobala.
대닥지다 나와다지 텐도 여발라. 순정왕시라 수치다 나와다를 여발라 지대메타나 미네.
So
소녀 자신도 나요 왕시라 소년지 최신도 나와도 여봐라 지대비 내봐. 그봐.
So, as far as the reason for that is that in order to establish them as existing in the way that as they appear, in order to establish those as existing as they appear, this is either not invalidated or is invalidated by worldly awareness. What that indicates is that the face, which is appearing to a visual awareness, which is held to be an actual face, that is invalidated, is shown to be not the case, just by means of some other worldly awareness. Whereas the form, a visible form, which is apprehended by a visual awareness, if it's an actual form, it cannot be invalidated by some other worldly awareness.
Oh yeah, 真正印象，他说的今天想我了对的有样的，数年的今天想我了对的有老爸，是个的。
So therefore, the face, the form, the visible form. Is established as being an actual object from the perspective of worldly awareness, whereas the face, which is actually a reflection, is not established, is established as being erroneous, just based solely on worldly awareness.
他所有的今天想我了对的杨大小狗的看的也是呢，所有的有的些有件个的顺着往些。顺着往下了，顺那我的出来的是那没出来的，顺着往下了，顺那我的没出来的，当你马多为几代人家话个到明年把印章，俺那说的几代想我了的杨大人那个的。
But we have to be careful here and say that the way in which that form, that visible form, appears to a visual awareness, it's not established as it appears to that visible awareness. It appears in a way to that visual awareness such that the only way that one can invalidate the way it is appearing to that visual awareness is through first understanding emptiness. Ordinary sorts of awareness cannot establish that the visible form doesn't exist as it appears to that visual awareness.
인자다. 최신한 그 소년, 물론 그 최신 그 소년당. 아니 차차 잘 나와. 전소 지대 생활을 때도 유로바. 지대 생활을 때도 유로바 인바데 가라서나 최신지 소년 준비 최신되라. 최신 소년 최신도 준비 미시되라. 소년 나와다 마주바데 돈이 마도베 지대시 랑가에 돈이 봐. 차잔다 요 왕시 되기 차자 자를 마주바데 돈이 마도베 지대 랑가고 왕 시와게 돈이 봐이다. 지대 생활을 때 로바 스쿼드.
So then when we're saying that something like a face or something like a voice and such, that we're establishing those as being erroneous types of objects. How is it that we're establishing them as erroneous types of objects? They're appearing to visual awareness or to auditory awareness or whatever, but and we can establish those as being erroneous types of objects merely based upon ordinary sorts of worldly knowledge. That's all that is needed to establish those as erroneous types of objects.
수준비 순진 미셰디 수준비 미셰디 지단 생활을 되게 유전양다봐 제 최신지 소년 나위 최신도 집에 미셰디 지단 생활을 되게 유전로봐 다진도 유래자인바
So we've if we've done this with regard to objects such as a visible form is an actual object, and a face is an erroneous sort of object. And these can be established as such simply using ordinary worldly knowledge. And then the same thing applies to the subjects, the cognizing subjects here. That is the visual awareness, which is apprehending the form. The visible form can be established as being an actual or correct kind of awareness. And whereas the visual awareness, which is apprehending the reflection, can be established based upon ordinary worldly knowledge as being an erroneous kind of awareness.
Yeah, 그래서 순전왕시대 지단 생활을 되게 유전양다 효과의 가르래서나 순전왕시대 출시수 돈이 맞도베 지단 랑가베 또 메뉴와 그 출시리 라콜라 가르나 거래서나 라시 주어나 거래 데모 주어나 거래 인자 데모 주어 인자 돈이 맞도베 지단 랑가와기 순전왕시 출시도 또 메뉴바 인장 순전왕시 지단 생활을 되게 양다래 유전양다래
유전양다. So now, in order to establish these things as being mistaken, we have to differentiate between an erroneous kind of object and an actual object. We do that from the point of view of worldly knowledge. But there's a deeper level of error that can be introduced in which we're talking about things as being mistaken awareness, and a mistaken awareness is one which apprehends its object as existing, being established as real. And in order to establish that type of mistake, that level of mistake with respect to the awareness, one has to have previously understood emptiness.
출시도 또 메뉴바
또 메뉴바 직전 랑가와
이단 랑가와 출시도 또 메뉴바 인자 다시 유래자와 나신이 있잖니 아니 지대 시험을 되지 유전양다 바래
So this it's from the perspective of worldly awareness then that an awareness is established as being correct, an actual correct awareness, but that's solely from that perspective. Ordinary worldly awareness is not able to determine that an awareness is a mistaken type of awareness.
다 원래만 야 전에 통고 있어요. 나라서 다 대신도 소녀 최신도 준비 미세당 찾아자를 준비 라나위 미세 대니요데 다 로셰서 로셰레 대니요데 출시에 로셰체 단다 이게 수집이 미세의 출시인자 로비시아 많이 받지. 그러와 다 된저비 소녀 최신도 나위 미세당 아니 자자자 나위 미세의 요데 왕신 그 년신 요데 로셰서 돈이 마도 왜 지대시 랑가베 돈이 봐 인장 지대 생활을 또 유전 로바
So then we have to introduce another distinction of a perverse awareness. 록시당
출신이가래. 순전왕시의 출시를 록시마래. 그 준비 수요하러와.
So a sort of a perverse kind of awareness, which is also mistaken. the awareness which is the visual awareness which is holding the reflection to be a face is a mistaken awareness because and it's also a perverse kind of awareness. It's grasping the thing in a perverse way, a completely wrong way. So it's both, it's mistaken because it grasps at the thing as being established as real, but it's also, even from a worldly perspective, is perverse because it apprehends its object in a way that it doesn't exist. No,
That's all. That's all.
Did I get that? Yeah.
Oh yeah. 대체 다 된다. 양다바당 군접라 양로그 쳐바제디 기대비 시험을 때는 제와레체. 제와레 마도 파발을 때는 지금 말에 송하더라. 파발을 때는 양다바다 로바니스 메디. 파박이 니 기다려 소녀라서 나왔다지. 파박이 소녀 제시도 나왔다 나도 매바 대신도 마르바단 담바 나나 세가라 마르바단 담바라 소와나 원보라 소와랑 천이 주와 나양 나왔다지 텐도 매비치로 텐도 매비치 대지 시와 되니라 안에 주마주야 여매 와 지라 중앙시당 로비시와 니라 주마주 쳐봐요 말에
주마주미
주와다면 이거 주신 받치받치 와 그래서 파발라 때문에 양다바다 로바니스 메데 기타 소년라 다 소와 나왔다지 되매바 대신도 마르바단 담바 나와 원볼라서와 랑그 천이 주와 나왔다지 된도 매비치로 파발라 나와 랑그 천이 주와 나왔다 나와 매바 파바시 와 대지 시와 되니라 세 주마주 야매서가 자세 소녀 자신도 나와다 원보라 소와 랑그 천이 주와 나위 왕신이 오들라 주마주 쳐봐요 말에 로시 이면 쳐봐체
So then the text continues here by saying that from the perspective of an Arya, we don't make the distinction into the two correct and perverse types of awareness. And here that's explained as follows, that just like as an image and so forth, a reflected image, it doesn't exist as it appears. It's non-existent as the thing that it appears as. Similarly, for those who possess ignorance, blue and so forth, meaning a visible form, etc., those appear as if they were established by means of their own intrinsic identity, and yet they don't exist as they in the form of the objects that they appear as, and therefore we don't make the distinction between a mistaken awareness or unmistaken awareness with respect to those two forms of awareness that were mentioned above.
그래서
셰바니스나
시바니 해야돼. 가서 순주 왕시당.
순주 왕시당.
아니 전시 못해. 차지 주진해 봐요. 왜 시바니 못해. 수년나요 왕시당. 수년나요 왕시당 순주 왕시니라 추마주 쳐봐요 말에. 요 말에 이가 주시래. 좋아. 차지 주진해 봐요. 왜 그 쳐봐요 말에. 순주 왕시는 차지 주진해 봐 매봐 인자 양답이 시와. So
So, therefore, in terms of those, the distinction, I think I mistranslated this last line, that therefore, the distinction between something being mistaken and being unmistaken is not made with respect to those two types of awareness. The two types of awareness here are on the an awareness which is affected by, or let's say an awareness which is affected by some kind of temporary defect, some kind of temporary source of damage to it. And the other type of awareness is one which is not affected by some kind of temporary sort of cause of error, cause of error within that awareness. Here, the examples are that an awareness of a reflection as a face that thinks it is a face, or that apprehends it as a face. That is a kind of perverse type of awareness. It's grasping its object or apprehending its object in a completely way that's contrary to the way it exists. And then the awareness which apprehends an actually existing thing is correct, or is correct on that level. But nevertheless, even that awareness, which say a visual awareness which is apprehending a physical form and so forth, those sorts of awarenesses are nevertheless mistaken insofar as they grasp at their objects as if they were real. And so that's the criterion for something being mistaken or unmistaken, is whether or not the awareness grasps at its object as being real or not.
我当阿是安部书间查出去那把月白，安部书间本来没落那个切心个书年那月，往现在那查起出来出去那把月白人上有老把切心书年切心都难瓦当，是吧？一句写话，你那所谓那把月白没那么多，没人难瓦了，没人难瓦了说话。没让我了说话，没了说话，真把他没两个没真把。你设备推出，设备推就没打啷个那，你马过吧？你设备推出就，安尼哦，卡实俺在就没来把那带呢，就没得行打啷都拿完了，打啷当。没就了去拿完了，随便去这边有那么有亲戚路引呗，但他就。今天让个外多，今天让个外多牛个人，差几出去那边，小娃太大个有太多，差几出去那边人在今天让个外多牛个人，是吧？亲戚老人吧，是那一些的小娃的亲戚老人吧？啊，我说，小娃没弄那个切心去苏年那有往些的亲戚老人吧，是吧？哦，然后刚才。多没讲，他得往些钱，他一些出到那边就来吧，是吧？一了出到那边那把月呗，老把属于他们今天两个月七几老的其他多些呐，是吧？往些了那把他今天两个月多图个人，他一些了出到那边那把了说情况，其他今天两个月其他多个人，他吃我用过的。
Yulnam Mikyu Nangwala Chu Zimpe
Mikyu la Chu Nangwala Chu Zimpe Mikyu la Chu Nangwala Mikyu Chu Zimpe Chiwa Jigwarwa Mikyu la Chu Nangwala Chu Zimpe Yunam Siganata Yage Karungobo Nawe Nawatang Tai Bang Chere Yunam Stisherwa Tai Nawe Yisheta Lo Chichilore
Nang yishi de
Chutibi Yunam Chichilo Yimbes, you the Chichilo race. You the Chichilo in our Kodnavi, Shewa the Tushir Yorwa, you Chichilo in town. Well, they are Mara chasing to Mama, chasing soon as chasing to your Marawa. 자자 자유와 말아와 이제 지지로서 쓰거든.
So then one might say, well, and ask the question,
이래서 주나요 유남 친지로 임바를 세 최신지수냐 최신도 최신 임바의 친지로라 봐. 자자 자 임바의 친지로라 봐. 근데 자자 자를 나와대 자자 자를 매봐 친지로 임바 지대랑가 왜 또는 그래. 자자 자를 나장 잠만 받아. 수냐 최신도 냥 최신만 임바의 지대랑가 왜 또는 그래. 또 매장.
So it says, then you might say, well, if that's the case, given the example of the way that's been given above, that the persons who, when you have the physical organs which are damaged by some kind of incidental or temporary damage, then objects appear erroneously in an erroneous fashion to them. And as far as the mental awareness is concerned, if it is damaged by sleep and so forth, then, for example, in a dream, within the context of a dream, we have the appearance of people, etc. And that sort of mental awareness in the dream state grasps at them as if they were actual people and so forth. And then when one wakes up, we no longer hold on to them as being real people. And similarly, someone who's under the effect of an illusionist's sort of conjuring, they have the appearance of horses and elephants, these horses and elephants which are magical illusions. They have that sort of thing that illusion appearing to them, and they magical the horse and the elephant and such, and within a mirage, there's the appearance of water, and it's held to be water. These sorts of objects can be understood simply by means of ordinary worldly knowledge, worldly cognition, that they are erroneous, that they're not actual things. That even though that's the case, that mere ordinary worldly cognition can understand that such things are erroneous, and that the perceiving subjects which cognize those objects as if they were actual things, we can know that those things, that both subjects and objects are erroneous. Well, how is it that someone who's damaged, who's been damaged by bad philosophy, is and the objects which they grasp at in a perverse sort of fashion, how is it that ordinary worldly cognition can understand that those things are mistaken?
Oh yeah. 다 되라. 가서래. 또 세나. 다 된다. 이기기라 죽단 nem바 내봐 선위 되는 직대랑 가에 치지로 또 그래. 쓰나. 좋아되라. 하고서 일รับ
So the question then again is that their minds are damaged by bad philosophy, by bad sorts of philosophical views, and they grasp at objects in a sort of perverse fashion. And how is it possible for ordinary worldly cognition to understand that those things are mistaken?
이란여바 유메 세기 이시라 너바 유메 세기 너바테 딜너바 유메 집에 너바테 현재지 시질로도 집에 너바라 미셔바 세가 현재스나 인생 현재 토마 매반에 알아서라 angam 슈슈기 제기 딘진 현지기 아니 시원내데 라유 된루든 아야지 와라 다 tel라 지금 말해 미수치 미세베스 원아 가르레서나 춥당 냠바게 줬다니 치료 그 춥다 좀봐 안에 다다바 임바다 지조 예와당 장전바게 아니 춤된 줄레베 왕게 아니 지조당 다다바당 오 텐지기 춤다 춥당에 배 다비 춥대 레주와 코네 로바 다비 아니 장전기 지조지 아니 가소래 사와 탐제라 참지를 주비 아니 지참에做了说话 인라 다다바다 지조라 说话 인다 다다바 어 대다인 주다 대다기 친지로도 직된비 로랑가 대다 지조의 준비 로당 다다바 준비 아니 주대 줄레비 왕게 다다바 준비 로당 주대 줄레비 왕 지조의 준비 로대다 대다 친지로도 직된 로랑가에 몇도장 세다 다디 친지로도 직된 로랑가에 마도장 세디 친지 직된 랑가와데 돈이 마도와라 마자바체 춥달 로가 쳐 찌야 마조박 춥달 로가 마조리 직된 랑가와게 아니 지조 당 다다바 준비 로테다 loksheta 도구 말해 라메도장 아니 마도장 대코나니 온도 마초비 동반이 마도비 대코나니 올라 온도 마차베 찬야비 참에 로바도바 인장 돈이 마도비 찬야비 참에 로바도바 인장 직대 시험을 때도 로바레 쓰거다.
So here the reply to that is how can that be understood is that here the damage which is being distinguished, which is being differentiated here as to whether or not someone has been damaged or harmed by bad philosophy and such, whether someone's mind has been negatively affected by bad philosophy, has to do with, is not being determined from the point of view of is not being made in reference to the damage of holding things incorrectly, which is innate. Here, innate, sort of innate awareness which grasps at things erroneously is referring to the automatic grasping at things as being real, as being established as real, which has been present within us from beginninglessly. So that's not the type of damage that's being considered here. Rather, things which are imagined or are actually
주당에 줬다봐. 장전배 줍대 줬다배 기초다. 아니 제라배 다다봐.
제라배 딱.
다다봐. 어딘서 다 주당에 줄래배 데려봐. 인자 대다 아니 치지로도 집에 직대로 랑가배 먼저 장하세라 줍달라 로가 쳐는 마줘와기 아니 직대바 대다기 지조 로시도야 미도. So
these sorts of ideas which are imagined or which are exaggerated and superimposed by bad philosophy, which such examples are given as such as a sort of fundamental matter which gives rise to all phenomena within and within the Samkhya system, or a sort of permanent self which is posited, or a permanent sound and such, which are posited within other systems of non-Buddhist philosophy. So these sorts of some kind of dominating matter, which is the source of everything, and all of these other sorts of wrong ideas are only sort of perversely imagined by those whose minds have been changed by philosophy. Although it's true that ordinary worldly cognition doesn't recognize those as being mistaken. Here, ordinary worldly cognition is referring to people who have not studied philosophy in any way whatsoever, that have not applied themselves to thinking about how these things are false. But these things can be understood as being perverse or false by means of conventional valid cognition, which has not directed itself towards reality.
Yes, sir.
De konanila ngundu machope tanye petseme ordogna.
Madonna say. Tekonanila unduma, Tekonanila unduma chobisa, Tony Mato bis, Tekonanila unduma chobasa, Tekonan Tonira, Somba Nila, Loka Machobi. Tanya Betseme Lobatogre.
So merely conventional valid cognition can understand that these things are wrong without even, it doesn't have to apply itself towards the nature of reality.
Therefore,
therefore, worldly knowledge can understand that that is wrong or perverse.
주제 줄려발을 때문에 그와 그봐 윤재랑 맞대봐 토마 매반은 안하면서 토마 매반은 강함 슈슈기 찡게 되라 단전 현지 있을 거랑 알아줘 봐 어텐더위 최이단전에 가서 단전이 채우가나 단전 현지니지 수의 턴이 안에 가서 다도 주바당 최이다도 주바 수의 턴 대체 봐 수의 턴 아니 최다도 주바당 최지다도 주바다 가사다도 주바디 가세 네바 메비 암비 숭아 가세 된다 보니 네바 메비 암비 숭아 셔와 인라 네바 메비 암비 숭아 셔와 인라 네바 메비 암보 남진 암보 네바 메비 암보 초 남진 숭아 세지도와 숭아스나 숭아 셔와디 인라 직된 비 삼바 랑가와라 때니 텐다웨 단진한지 기승 유 담바 줘봐데 직된 비 삼바 랑가와데네 양다바야 담바레 양다바 담바인데 직된 비 돈이 마도비 직된 랑가와기 아니 취다도 줘 다도 줘 나와다 맞줘봐 도미니 가사 담바 줘 나와다 맞줘 도미니 바 인상 아니다 양다바와 담바 이 매장 현지의 소위 요처이다도 주바당 가사가다도 주바데 탄예토한 요 말이.
So then it continues by saying that the things such as the objects which are held by the innate grasping at the two types of self of persons and self of phenomena. So the objects which are grasped by that sort of innate grasping at things as being real, grasping at the person as being established as real, grasping at other kinds of phenomena as being existing as real. And this here is referring to, innate here refers to this beginningless beginningless kind of grasping within us, which arises automatically. It doesn't require something additional for it to arise. It arises just sort of automatically. And those sorts of objects, it is said here, are and it's referring back to the previous text where it says, which are held by those whose faculties have not been damaged. These are from the perspective of ordinary worldly ideas or ordinary worldly thinking are true or are real. Although that's the case, these don't exist even conventionally.
Oh yeah, that is the tangible to that the Shani. That Umaranjubagi, any Chinago Karatina, you chijala rang tani to a chaguari. Rava, Taneta, Tatan Zayani, rang tani troop, Rangone troop, Rangi troop, Demba Madu, Sigarva.
So then now what we've given above is so far according to the Prasangika or the consequentialist Madhyamika. From the perspective or from within the Madhyamika, the Swatantrika or the autonomous school of the middle way philosophy, they say that if something exists, it has to be established by means of its own intrinsic identity. They say that things exist as they're established by means of their own intrinsic identity. They exist from their own side. They exist by means of essence. Those three, they say things exist by means of intrinsic identity, they exist from their own side, and they exist by means of essence, but they say they're not established as real.
Sudan, Sunyani would Rangtani to Nawade, Nawata to Truare. Sunyan be Michela, Sunya Rangatani to Anade, Nawata to Troop. Susan be Michela, Sunawa, now, Surangatani to Nawata to Trubare. Truba Yinzang, Ranjubagi, Eugenia, Yaloni Chigamare. Eugenia Tanju and Asichani, Eugenia. So
here then for the autonomous school of Madhyamika, they say that since it's the case that things, if they exist, they have to exist as and they have to be established by means of their own intrinsic identity. Therefore, the objects that are appearing to something like a visual awareness, which is aware of visible form, that object has to be. It appears to that visual awareness as established by its own intrinsic identity, and likewise, it has to. Exist by means of its own intrinsic
Shewa Rangatani to Nawatatu, and a Rangatani to Yebe, Eugenia Yaloni Sumichela.
So here they're not differentiating perceiving subjects into being correct and incorrect. They don't do it in that way. And the reason for that is that they say that whatever awareness, for whatever awareness to which something appears as being existing as established by means of its own intrinsic identity, since it exists as it appears, that awareness ascertains it in such a way. Therefore, they don't differentiate something being correct or incorrect, actual or incorrect, actual or erroneous, with respect to the perceiving subject.
다 시와라 유전을 알로 니스미 제바체 유도 나와라 치다 나왔다지 치다 나왔다지 랑게 천이 예매 제바 남니스 다 유도 나왔다 유 나왔다라 유랑게 천이 주와 나왔다도 치다 예매 제바 이다 유래 양도 니셔 양다 군접탕 로비 군접 시그아레 와 양다 군접 로비 군접 연당 유라 치다 나왔다지 랑게 천이 예매 제바인데 아니 콩카르레서나 로비 신님복이 로비 신님비 엄마 대니 가수 나도 자야团结다 니위치다 미니치 양다 마인바 군좀니지 야와체 세테송과르라 제바니 대니래 나도 자양 团结다是吧 안데 다마 주간가라 나 나는 다마 주다 대바도 주다 유라 시다 나와다 제랑 천이에 책이 와레스
So thus, they don't make the distinction into something which is actual or correct or something which is erroneous from the point of view of the subject, perceiving subject, but they do it from the point of view of that which appears as the object. And they do it by distinguishing between things which are existing by means of their own intrinsic identity as they appear, or that don't exist by means of that don't exist as they appear. They don't exist by means of their own intrinsic identity as they appear. And this gets explained, or the source for this differentiation, which results in distinguishing between actual phenomenal things and erroneous phenomenal things, or things which are not actual phenomenal things, as far as objects is concerned. That is based on the differentiation of the two truths by the master Jnanagarbha. And in his work, it says that
나도 자야 团结다 수년 가서 수진비 미셰라 수랑个천이 주어 나와다 수년 진비 미셰라 아니 수년 가서 수년 최신도 랑个천이 주어 나와 니오데 나와 잡아래 수년 진비 미셰라 나도 잡아라 수년 랑个천이 주 수년 수진비 미셰라 수랑个천이 주어 나와다 수년 진비 미셰라 수년 최신도 랑个천이 주어 나와 니오데 나도 잡아 나와 잡아 봐 나도 자양스 团结당 나도 자야 团结다 아니 가서 니위치다 미니치리스가 순진 미셰라 수랑그 천이 주어 나왔다도 아니 수그 团结니 그래 수 团结니 그래 아니 제신 손에 제신도 준비 아니 미셰라 제신 그 손에 제신도 랑그 천이 주어 나왔다 团结 미니 그래 최최 니고 말했어 미니바인자 소년데 양다 군도 团结 니위치 나왔다도 랑그 천이 주어 나왔다 团结 니위치 양다 군도당 소년데 제신도 랑그 천이 주어 나왔다 团结 미니위치나 로비 군도래 나위치다 미니지 양다 마인바 양다 군도당 양다 마인바 로비 군도 니기 아니 예와체
So it says, the verse here says that although they appear similarly, because one is able to perform a function and the other is not able to perform a function, we differentiate between the things which are actual phenomenal things and things which are not actual phenomenal things or are erroneous phenomenal things. This differentiation is explained, can be explained in using the same example of a visible form, which is apprehended by a visual consciousness. That thing appears to be established by means of its own intrinsic identity as a visible form. And because it is established by means of its own intrinsic identity as a visible form, therefore it is a actual phenomenal thing. It's a actual phenomenal thing. On the other hand, if in the case of a visual awareness which is apprehending a face, a reflection as a face, face appears as if it's established by means of its own intrinsic identity as a face, but because it is not established in that as a face, therefore it's not able to perform, and it's not established. It's not truly actually established by means of that identity, because of it is not able to perform the function of an actual face. So therefore it's categorized as a erroneous type or erroneous type of phenomenal thing.
Oh yeah, teranji lu de che, lu dini se, tanju lu dini, ane mari badan demba namla rang chanyi chua kang na wa tamje, shewa dim ane mari bele bare, mari bele bi na wa shebare, mari badan tanju lu la. 머리바단 댐비 머리바단 댐비 카사라 아니 가난 탐제 머리비 레비 원게 나와지 그래 와 머리그 방게 레비 나와 셰베 군조비 턴라 지된 시행원라 되되 양다다 군조미 제거를 마도 양다다 군조미 제거 말에 세대라 군조비 턴라 양다다 라바 니스 미체도 시행원라 되되 양다다 라바체
시행원라 되되 So then in this system, here the consequentialist form of Madhyamika, in this system, for people who are, or a awareness which possesses ignorance, everything appears to it as if it's established by means of its own intrinsic identity. So all of those appearances, whatever appears, appear as if appear to be established by means of their own intrinsic identity. But those awarenesses, all of them, since they're affected by ignorance, the appearances are shebate marikbi lebi nangwar shebe.
시바테 랑거 천이 주와 가난 탐제 간탄 탐제 시바데 마리빌레 그런 천이 주와 나와 나위 시바 탐제 마리빌레 바천 께바레.
So those are accepted as being appearances that are appearances which are affected by the ignorance of that awareness. So therefore, because that's the position, phenomenal objects are not distinguished into actual and erroneous types of objects.
Oh yeah, that teacher, ane jubarande kaso, kashi kunzo tuya dembani kunzo jidemba maino seede chana sengdo, kashi kunzo tuya zumba teni kunzo jidemba maino sie sumba ke karere sana, dala chawake. 달라 차웨 직된지 군접 중어 직된명 군접 로 군접 용어 최신지 수년 더부대 최신도 믿음바 달라 차웨 가사되게 최신 수년 최신 많이 또 그러와 또 투바 인상 시에수면 달라 참일 직된 비군주 경우 최신기 수년 따보대 최신도 미된배 미된데 최신 수년 최신 많이 또 투바 인상 미된배 텔라티비 군주 대마 많이노 텔라티비 군주 대마 많이노.
So this is explained in the commentary on the introduction to the Middle Way, where it says that that which is false, even with respect to the phenomenal, is not phenomenal truth. And so that statement means that within the perspective of the phenomenal 달라장배 직등배 쿰섭긴고
달라 창위 안 직등배 군섭 달라 저 때문에 시행을 하죠. 때문에 시행을
So from the perspective of the phenomenal awareness of someone who is a worldly phenomenal awareness of someone who is educated, has understood the nature of things. Something like the face, which appears as a reflection, can be understood because it's not real as a face for such a person, such an awareness. It would not be categorized as phenomenal truth with respect to that kind of phenomenal awareness.
최신의 수년대보다 최신도 밑에 어느 된다면 로텔라되디 군조점인지 대마 많이 넣었을 것 같아. 유쇼와 대마 많이 넣었어. 대단하야 시자 최신의 수년대 시자 전부 통위 통회. 저와 최신의 수년 나요 왕시 되기 가서 시자 전부 통위 루이 통위 최신의 수년대 시자 전부 통위 루 탄예비 참여 예비 통위배 최신의 수년대 탄예비서면 예대인배 군조 담바래 세제 전부 통배 탄예비서면 예대인배 군조 담바래 개신기 수년대 세제 전부 통배 탄예비서면 예대인배 군조 담바래.
So that reflection of the face is since it's not real as a face, that can be understood even from the perspective of worldly phenomenal awareness, which is someone who is educated. So with respect to that, it's not that's not the awareness with respect to which something is classified as phenomenal truth. Although that's the case, then even though that's so. Since it is something which is found by someone who's seeing things that are objects of knowledge that are false and deceptive, it is a conventional truth, a phenomenal truth. 달라장화.
가래 거도.
달라장배 직등배 군섭기.
가래라세. 거한테 거라고 봐. 달라 참이 직대비 군접 경우 세가라. 달라 제배 직대비 시용을 쓰고 하래. 달라 참바스나 최신의 수년당 최신의 탄예 생gen기 달라 참아.
최신의 수년.
달라 참이 저 되게 최신의 수년 최신에 또 두고로 와. 최신의 수년 최신 많이 또 두고로 와. 기다란가 봐. 봐. 최신의 수년다 최신의 다 생gen기 강사되기.
최신의 수년
최신의 수년다 최신의 차별 생gen기 강사 좋아로 와. 달라 참아 강사래.
So someone who is familiar with the literally it's someone who's familiar with the signs of things is someone who understands the difference between a reflection of a face and a face, that they understand that the reflection of the face is not a real face.
That is what.
네. 대타는 시자 줌발루이
대단한 세제 주발루이 통통외에서 통통외 예비 통인배에서 최신지 두년대 세제 준바 통와 탄여지기 그 체면 여든 인배 군도된 바리.
Nevertheless, this reflection of the face, since it's a object which is found by the valid cognition, which is investigating conventions, therefore it is a conventional truth, a phenomenal truth.
That's right. Oh yeah. 수년나위 시와 나유를 추와 대신도 머리바단 담발라 온보라 소와랑 그 천이 추와 나와야 나유를 추와 충소 멜로나 그写信 그 수년나위 왕시대 아니 나유를 추와 수년写信도 나유 찾아 추와 대신도 가서래 머리바단 담비 머리 파자지 레비 아니 가사 그 유지 온보 가서 온보집에 미시 온주 미시니야 아니 추가자와래 온보를 추가자와래 그봐 온보를 추가래 온보랑 같이 추가 나와라
So
나유의 추가 순서
So an awareness for which a reflection appears is mistaken with respect to its appearing object. Is mistaken with respect to its appearing object. So an awareness which holds the reflection as being a face, just as that is erroneous with respect, is mistaken with respect to its appearing object. Those who are possess ignorance, for them, or an awareness that is possesses ignorance. Things like a patch of blue and so forth appears to be existing, established by its own intrinsic identity, those as well are erroneous, are mistaken with respect to their appearing objects.
Oh yeah, 다디니. 다디데 차도아 샤제 담바 존나 테 추와디 줘봐 가양 샤제 담바 단담 담바 존간라 조제기 로데 로 추와기 줘봐데 가양 단담 줘봐 조제기 로데 수레 sana 조데 단담 담바 세조 조제기 로데 돈이 무슨 더 로데레 될 반주 시와르바 일단 단담 담바 존나 대다 추와디 줘봐 가양 로 추위 줘봐데 가양 샤자 준바 줘봐라 아니 로추와데 초스 좋아래 자자 준바 줘제데 타녀비 참아 추하면 도 매아베 점전지지
샤자 dunam demba jona
샤자 demba jona 로추와데 줘봐 가양 샤자 demba 줘제 그 로데라 돈이 무슨 더 로지 줘고 와래 인상 샤자 demba 지나 로 돈이 무슨 더 로지 만주고 와라 샤제 담바 줘나 아니 추와디 로 추에 줘봐데 가양 샤제 준바 줘봐라 로 추와티 초스 줘와래
디 초스 줘 So sorry
하고서
샤자 dunam
샤제 담바 줘나
demba jo
대다 추와디 줘봐 가양 샤자 전담 담바 줘나 랑전라 나유라 추와디 줘봐데 가와래 샤제 담바 줘제데라 만주이 시와 돈이 무슨 더 별로시고 고아래 또 그래 디스랑
나유라 druba. So here, if in order to posit a thing which is to be evaluated or to be validly cognized as real, here this is referring to ultimate truth. a cognition which is mistaken like that, that is grasping at things as being existing by means of their own intrinsic identity, that sort of cognition, it would be contradictory for that sort of awareness to be able to posit a thing as an ultimate truth. However, in order to posit something as a object of valid cognition, which is a false, that sort of that can function as an adjunct to it.
추바데 자자 가서 좀 봐줘야 tro스 주고 아래 투비 주고 봐 자지 좀 봐대
So nevertheless, so a cognition which is awareness which is erroneous, awareness which is mistaken with regard to its appearing object can function as an adjunct to establishing a false thing to be which is to be known through valid cognition as false.
다 도만 대해서 다 차도 대담만이나 주마다 위团당 전부 남자 탄예도 좋고 왜 구조된 바 미스바 주대 탄예도 미대나 구조된 바 가위치로 된바 좋고 그이나 그러와 탄예도 미대나 구조된 바 줬어요 말이에요 대담만이나 세대 여기 샤제 된바 좋나 추어디 줘봐 가양 샤자 준바 줘봐라 되니 줘서 줘 마이나 와 로트베 줘봐도 줘서 줘 마이나 대담마이나 세대 하고서
대담마이나 기무탑을
샤자 된바 줘봐나 추어디 줘봐 가양 샤자 준바 줘봐라 되니 줘서 줘봐 대담 마이나 와 아니 주마다 유 된당 준바남 탄내주 줘고 왜
If that was not the case, then meaning that if a mistaken awareness to which things appear to exist by means of their own intrinsic identity, then since things such as objects which are like illusions, such as illusions, and false things, since they have to be established or posited conventionally, it would be impossible to, phenomenal truth would be impossible.
이니 주마다요 대다 준반 남장 아니 가서 탄내도 아니 담바를 좋고 왜 아니 군저대 봐 미스바 주 그래 그만 로상도
La douchegi jogurwa. Douchegi jogurwa.
말이 추어디 미 줘봐 가양 담바 줘봐디 샤자 담바 줘나 추어디 줘봐디 가양 샤자 준바 줘봐디 줘봐라 추시티니 줘서 줘래
두시
줘줘 자다 대담만이 나와서 대세네 대대 샤자 담바 줘봐라 추어디 줘봐 가와당 준바 줘봐라 아니 추시티니 줘서 줘봐 대담만이 나스 그러와 아니 주마다 위团당 준바남 탄예도 좋고 왜 탄예도 담바 좋고 왜 스기스만로 상그 추석 좋고 뭐거나 되는 것도 대바 메시바 주고래 유대 탄예도 미대나 그저 대바 가위치로 와 그저 대바라 탄예도 대바团당 미대바 네 잡아줘. 야 지금 다다나.
디 두시 타니 베세마로와 타니 베세마 두시레. 타니 베세마.
타니서 두시레. 와 타니 베세마 두시레. 타니 베세마 심정이 타니 베세마 간거 두시레.
So So it says there, in order to establish the thing which is to be,
再想一想，这里，
we'll stop here. This is a tough point.
过来开始再想一想。
This is a hard point.
扎西。